Don't miss Good American Family.
We have a little girl here for adoption. She has dwarfism.
Starring Ellen Pompeo and Mark Duplass.
Something is off.
She's just a little girl. You think she's faking?
She has adult teeth. There are signs of puberty.
Inspired by the shocking stories that tore a family apart.
I don't know what's going on.
How old are you?
You should get a lawyer.
You have no idea how those people hurt this girl.
The Hulu original series, Good American Family, premieres March 19th, streaming on Hulu.
Get this, adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Wondery. Greenlight.com/Wondery.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai car or SUV you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. But don't wait. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event is going on now. So visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
You make my eyes water. Thank you for everything, like for even caring enough to hear what's going on, for this opportunity, because like I said, it really feels like we've had a lot of doors just closed on us, and unanswered emails, unanswered phone calls, and just hearing us out, hearing his story, creating this awareness, like broadening it is huge for us, because there's times that we feel like he says, he feels like he was thrown to the wolves, and I'm like, hey, I played with wolves, so we kind of laugh about stuff, but we also have our moments where we just sit in silence on the phone, we just, after praying, it's like, what are we missing here? What is it that we need to do? I don't understand. And so, like, everyone who's prayed and reached out for us, thank you. We're just going to keep on fighting, even though he tells me, like, Lisa, that's enough, just stop. And I'm like, no, like, I just can't. It's not right. I'm trying to fix, what they did to you.
That's Lisa Brat Martinez, an advocate for Pablo Velez, a man who appears to be wrongfully convicted. This is the Silver Linings Handbook podcast. I'm Jason Blair. I've covered and read about a lot of claims of wrongful convictions, but I've never seen anything like this. On the evening of July 14, 2004, and into the early morning hours of the next day, a woman named Claudia Beltran, who is at the Perfect Rack Pool Hall and Sports Bar in Houston, Texas, called the father of her unborn child, Adrian Payan. She said that some men who wanted to fight him were at the bar. Soon, Payan was there, and it would soon set in motion a series of events that left 17-year-old Emerson Borrequez, a friend of Payan's, dead. The police quickly honed in on the license plate that Beltran and her friend captured of a gold Cadillac that was noticed at the scene. That Cadillac was registered to Pablo Velez Jr. It seemed like an open and shut case, but it eventually became clear that the police manipulated a photo identification by Beltran to make it appear as if she was referring to Velez, that Velez had given the car to another man in return for taking over the payments, and Velez was likely dozens or more than 100 miles away with a witness at the time of the crime. Even some of the victims' family members, based on their utterance at recent rallies, think Texas got the wrong man. Yet Pablo was convicted of murder and is serving a 30-year sentence in the state. His appeals have gone up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, two courts known for their somewhat rogue interpretations of the U.S. Supreme Court's precedents regarding defendants' rights. Indeed, Jordan Steker, a law professor at the University of Texas, says the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, quote, has a remarkable history of treating the Supreme Court opinions as optional guideposts rather than commands of a higher tribunal. When attorneys from the $5 billion year global law firm Latham & Watkins, the second largest in the United States by revenue, heard about Pablo's case, they conducted a full-throttled investigation and appeal on his behalf, but to no avail. Now Pablo's last and best chance is commutation of a sentence. In Texas, pardons and commutations, essentially reducing a sentence to a lesser time period, are handled by the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. I'm joined today by Lisa Brat Martinez, an actor and fashion designer who read about Pablo's case in July of 2020 after finding his story online. Lisa's advocated for animals, fought against human trafficking, fought for the right of children in abusive situations, and now has taken on Pablo's case, which she says is her toughest battle yet. Today, we're going to continue our discussion of Lisa's advocacy, Pablo's case, and the criminal justice system.
I've got some Hollywood executives telling me, hey, Lisa, we need to make a movie. I said, yeah, I know. I said, let's just get this nightmare over with first.
Right. Did he, at the time, was he able to put on some of these witnesses that supported his story?
They were going to. But that's when the judge had told his attorney that, no, they can go home. Go ahead and send them home. We're going to finish this tomorrow. But then last minute, the judge was like, no. And he sent them home. But then the judge like, no, go ahead and call your first witness. But you told me that I could send them home. I don't have any witnesses here. Either you get somebody on the stand or this is done. We're done with the case. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this, that like a judge will end a case.
Yeah. So
will end a case if you don't have a witness to call.
And he threw Pablo up there. Yeah.
So one of the things that I have wondered about listening to this story, so much of what Pablo was doing that night was corroborated by other people. He's in Weatherford, the truck breaks down, he's there with his partner. That's a person who's with him. His driving partner's wife picks them up. That's two people with him. Or two people who can corroborate the timeline. He makes it home. His brothers are there. They're playing video games. He's eating cereal. That's probably some electronic devices and two more people who can corroborate his story. Then he goes over to the woman's house, and I know she said at the time, she told people that he hadn't actually come, but now it looks like, in all likelihood, she wasn't necessarily being truthful because other people saw the truck in the area. Yeah. So that, to me, that's a pretty solid alibi that covers the time that the shooting happened. So I'm left baffled at understanding how a jury could have come to the conclusion unless they didn't have all the evidence or the prosecution presented evidence that I don't know, that wasn't factual or
that
something.
Was one of the things that they did lie. Yeah, that's in the transcripts. Also, one of the detectives said he was in the room when Claudia gave her statement, and then while he's on stand, it comes out that, oh no, he wasn't in the room at that time. But also,
That's the second detective in it, the partner of the one who took down the statement. Yeah, didn't he say something along the lines of like, that was a beautiful identification, or testify to that? Then we find out during the appellate process that he wasn't even in the room for this, quote, beautiful identification.
yep, that's him. One of not Claudia, I'm sorry, where he was at that girl's house, her neighbor had seen Pablo outside. They made eye contact with one another. We have that neighbor's affidavit. Another thing, because having your trucks, like some residents complain, if they're on a residential street because of the sound and how they kind of hog up most of the road. Well, a police officer passed by that night. And if only he would have given Pablo a ticket, that would have helped him, because the ticket would be timestamped that his truck and him were there at her house at that time.
Yeah. One of the things that, you'll often look for in a wrongful conviction case, you look for things like mistaken witnesses. That's a really common one. But it looks like the witnesses got the license plate to the gold Cadillac correct. They had really good descriptions of the people, said they didn't look like Pablo. Pablo had an explanation for how someone else had his car, that he had loaned or given it to the person to take over the payments for it. And then other things that you normally look for are, perjury or false accusations. But this seems to be a case that's really driven by police and prosecutorial misconduct. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree 100%.
Is there something that we could do to improve the justice system, to hold police and prosecutors more accountable? And this is not to malign. I mean, they're great police officers, like you said before, and there are great prosecutors. There's no question about it. And it's like any profession. You're going to have a certain number of bad apples, and you got to have something that prevents your bad apples from doing it. So, but go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I've even had some law enforcement tell me that, it's a shame that this occurred, blah, blah, blah. But even like they said, they get away with it. Nobody gets punished. So maybe if we were to start holding them accountable, maybe they would, think twice before they do something like this again.
Yeah. And what could you imagine them being held accountable looking like?
Treating them the same way that they would treat others.
You're a tough you're a tough internal affairs there.
Yeah. And so many people know about this case, Jason. As far as I had emailed when Trump was first in office, I emailed Biden, I emailed Trump again, I emailed all the state senators of Texas, all of legislation, the city council. I emailed the Texas Rangers. I even dropped off a packet. I'm out there making copies, putting these packets together, doing this, and always following God's lead. Like, okay, God, what else? What else do I need to do?
What does the Houston DA and the Houston Police Department say now? What's their position?
The DA is silent. Yeah. The police department, everybody says that the DA is the one who can reopen the case. And
I had read and heard that there were some rumblings that some detectives in the Houston PD were advocating for reopening the case. Is that correct?
Yes. The Chicano squad and the cold case homicide.
Right.
All they need is the green light from the DA to reopen the case, and that's it. And the two previous because it's the first two original detectives, but then years later it was two other detectives. And now currently the new detective, he got in touch with the two previous ones, and they were excited because they were like, wait, what? We have hopes for this. We remember this case. So they've been waiting and waiting.
You don't mean the original ones. You mean the ones after them.
Yeah. Right. Because the original ones are retired.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are people in the police department who would advocate for it. Has the DA ever answered Why? Because I'm curious because sometimes you'll occasionally hear DAs say things like still reviewing the case or contemplating it, but there's just nothing here.
There's nothing. And my whole thing is, and I've made it clear too, I also think it has something to do with possibly money, because being wrongfully convicted, and the state owes you money. So like, it's not about the money, because no amount of money is ever going to make up for the time that he lost. Like, his youngest daughter was 3 weeks old when he was taken away. So he was literally snatched out of everybody's lives. But my whole thing is like, I just nothing, no money is ever going to make up for the time that was lost, but at least don't be opposed to his parole release, because if he's granted parole, God willing, we're going to keep fighting, for him to be exonerated.
So one of the things I wonder about with Pablo's case, because it seems pretty solid wrongful conviction case. I understand how people could disagree on it, but this one seems pretty solid, at least in my estimation. Why does this case not get attention compared to cases like Stephen Avery or Scott Peterson or Adnan Syed, or even people who are probably wrongfully convicted like Leo Schofield? What is it? And like I understand in Leo Schofield's case, it really has to do with, he was lucky enough to be in a place where the local newspaper, the Tampa, I think it's the Tampa Bay Times now, it was called the Tribune back then, had the courage to do a series, and then Gilbert King, Unboned Valley, and his producing partner, Kelsey Decker, took up the case. So I understand Leo could have been in the same situation if those folks hadn't stepped up. But I'm curious, why do I turn on my TV and hear all the time about Stephen Avery, Scott Peterson, Adnan Syed, but I don't hear cases like Pablo's that seem so clear-cut?
I'm trying to think of how to say this. One, for sure, I think because we're in the state of Texas and it's more difficult. But it honestly feels like sometimes being Latino is just not the right thing for some. Because I've sent out, and I'm not trying to knock all media, but I have sent out, you would think, Geraldo Rivera, right? I have been on Pablo's case, 4.5 years already? I emailed anybody and everybody that I know personally, like, just people in the media and stuff, and Congress people, and still nothing. It's crickets. Not even an acknowledgement like, hey, I received your email, let me look into it. Nothing. And as far as like these Latino-based organizations that, we're going to fight with you and fight for you. Nope. Nothing. Nothing at all.
This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. Maybe you want to kick a bad habit or start a good one. If you're interested in learning how to master your emotions and hearing scientifically backed advice for using your emotions as a tool, may I suggest Shift by psychologist and bestseller author Dr. Ethan Kross? Trust me, listening on Audible can help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Weight loss. It needs to be fast and sustainable. Noom GLP-1 starts at just $149 and ships to your door in 7 days. Take it from Lauren, who lost 22 pounds on Noom.
If I come off of the GLP-1, it's not going to automatically make my weight yo-yo back.
$149 GLP-1s? Now that's Noom smart. Get started at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. Individual results may vary. Not all customers will medically qualify for prescription medications. Compounded medications are not reviewed by the FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll and Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again. With sheets that feel breathable to sleep in, you'll experience the purest softness on night one and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop because you earn cash back at over 3,500 stores. Fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, concert tickets, and more. Your favorite stores like Lowe's, Levi's, and Nike pay Rakuten to send them shoppers. And Rakuten then passes on a part of that payment to its members as cash back. You're already shopping at your favorite stores. Why not save while you're doing it? It's a no-brainer. Membership is free and easy to sign up. Get the Rakuten app now and join the 17 million members who are already saving. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. That's Rakuten. Your cash back really adds up.
And then there's other ones that like, oh, we're investigative reporters. We'll take your case for $5,000 just to go public with it. And it's like, are you serious?
Well, and you know, I don't think there's any reason to like dance around like the obvious role that race could play in it. I know as somebody who's been in the media, I know that the headline about the wrongful conviction of Paul Jones is instantly going to get more clicks, more downloads, more views than the wrongful conviction of Pablo Velez. Just like I know that we were talking about Ashley Loring, Heavy Runner, before from the Blackfeet Nation, that the last name, if I chopped off Heavy Runner and just left Loring, it would get more downloads. Yeah. I know it would.
Yeah.
And it's the part where I think it goes beyond the criminal justice system. We know media attention puts pressure on politicians. Mm-hmm. And we know politicians can put pressure on the system to bring us justice. And there's nothing wrong with them doing it. There's a reason why we have 3 political branches. That is a part of their purpose. So the things that are going to get the most attention, right, are going to get the politicians' attention, and the politicians are going to put pressure on the system. But if we, as the readers, the viewers, the listeners, the podcasters, the documentarians, all either don't cover these cases or we don't lend our eyeballs and our ears to these cases, that pressure is not there. I just have a hard time imagining that if the pressure was there, the DA would be able to be silent.
Right. I feel that way too. And that's one of the things, like, I still hold things in, like, whenever I do talk to Pablo on the phone, because, like, I don't want to tell him too much stuff because I get frustrated, but then I go outside and work out like Rambo and stuff, you know, and get it going. But, like, my whole thing is I've reached out to so many media people, and it's like, okay, when this man gets exonerated and comes home, I do not want to see your microphone in his face. Because I'm going to tell them, remember when I reached out to you and you know, all I heard was silence, crickets? That's the same response you're going to get from us. Because it's not right. Like, it feels like unless it affects a person directly, then they're willing to give it some attention. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, like, you know, I was recently a part of a conversation online where somebody had posted, they were comparing 2 cases. They were comparing the case of a missing and probably murdered Black girl in North Carolina that doesn't get much attention to the story of Gabby Petito. And there was a big documentary recently on this case. And I want to preface this. I am friends with Gabby Petito's parents. They care more about missing murdered Indigenous women, missing Blacks, missing Hispanics. They've turned their whole platform into fighting for that. So I just want to put that caveat on it. I tell this story about how I was at an event last year and I was facilitating a conversation, and right before the event, and Gabby's dad, Jim Schmidt, was the speaker, and I was facilitating, and I got a message from a Native friend of mine who was in a domestic violence situation and she had been choked. I messaged Jim afterwards, and he personally pulled together resources and phone numbers and opened the doors for her. And this woman is away from that man right now. So it's not a knock on Gabby Petito, because those people have used their platform, and in a way they are the model, right? Mm-hmm. They've used their platform to advocate for all sorts of people. But the interesting thing about this back and forth that we were having when this woman raised the question of why are we paying attention to Gabby's case and we're not paying attention to this other girl's case, I found that the responses people had were often quite negative. They would jump in and say that Gabby's case is important, or they would jump in and say, well, Gabby's case is completely different because we were watching it real time. But people did not, until you pinned them down, with some exceptions, did not want to acknowledge that there was a problem when it comes to race and media coverage, which then means there's a problem with race and political pressure. And that problem with media coverage comes from the listeners and the viewers not giving it enough attention. And I don't think it's just race. So to be clear, I think if you're of a lower socioeconomic status, if you're involved in drugs, if you're homeless, if you're, God forbid, or if you're LGBTQ, or God forbid, all of those things, or some combination of them, I think they all factor into the attention that people give. And I think people don't realize, and I realize I'm going on a bit of a speech right now. I think people don't realize that their eyes and their ears are their currency. It is as powerful as their vote.
I agree with you. Yep, it is.
So what about organizations that focus on the Latino community or represented communities? Have any of them taken on Pablo's case? I couldn't find much out there.
I'm just gonna say it. When this first happened, his mom reached out to LULAC, and they
What's LULAC?
It's the League United Latinos Coalitions.
Okay.
It's like that. But they told her they couldn't help her because he's not Mexican. And she's like, what? He is.
Wow.
Mexican American. But so then when I came on board, I was reaching out to different organizations, and I ended up becoming a part of LULAC because I spoke with Johnny Mata personally. And so I joined, and I would have thought, I'm not only one of your members, but I have everything here laid out on the table for you. I've done all the work, footwork. Let's do something. Nope, nothing at all. The only thing that they did assist me with, as individuals, a couple of them were with me holding up the banner off of Southwest Freeway, and people were honking in support of Pablo, but for a press conference. Mind you, this was when the previous DA was in office. We have to, you have to publicize your press conference at least a couple of days before you're going to do it. We did it, right? And the morning of us doing it, the previous DA, Kim Og, she last minute had an urgent press conference, so called all the press to her office. So the only ones that showed up at ours was Que Onda. It was like a Que Onda magazine.
Well, that's a nice trick.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
That's a nice trick. Well, that tells you something. And Johnny Mata, he was wasn't he involved in like the Greater
Civil
Houston
rights.
Coalition for Justice, civil rights things, and he was so at one point he was the director of the League of United Latin American
Uh-huh.
Citizens. Okay.
Yep. And
Yeah.
like we're in text groups together. And I've done everything literally. Well, the legal team too, but we don't have them anymore. It's just Pablo and me and God. But like that's okay. But I've done everything and I'm there with them. Okay, let's do this, let's do this. Well, okay, well, we'll call you. Well, and I'm like, you guys, your silence is the same thing the other authorities are doing me. Their silence is compliance, and I don't like it. And I've told them, I said, LULAC isn't nothing, man. They don't do anything. And I've had many people tell me too, like, what does LULAC do? And other organizations. And people have asked me, why don't you start your own organization? I said, because I don't know other individuals who will really give it their all, who really going to do it. And right now, my main focus is Pablo's case. And Pablo is such a sweetheart. He's like, you know what? When I come home, we're going to do this, this, this. We'll help others because I know what it's like here and stuff like that. But our main thing, we're going to focus on kids too. We're on the youth. We're going to help them. But it's like, oh, you know what I mean? I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I get it. I get it. So, do you think I'm just curious whether you think there are any avenues through the legal system. One of the things that a friend of mine said about the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the highest court for criminal appeals in Texas, they said that they said, I was like, I was showing them, the documents in Pablo's case, and then I was looking at the judge's order on the federal side and how it had such little detail, and then the Fifth Circuit federal court's decision. And my friend who's a lawyer said to me, you just have to remember that the Fifth Circuit and the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals take what the U.S. Supreme Court says about defendants' rights as merely a suggestion. He's like, they are just way out there when it comes to defendants' rights. And I'm wondering whether you see a legal avenue other than obtaining clemency. Is there anything left? Either new evidence, clemency, or those the only options?
Some have told us, well, just tell him to admit that he did it. They'll let him out on parole. And I'm like, are you crazy? Why would he do that? And some have said there was something else to where, in other words, they would cut his time in half. Or I'm also being told, well, when you get new evidence, just hit us up the integrity division at the DA's office before this new one came in. That's what they say. I'm like, new evidence? Like, you guys just gave us this notebook years after the whole case was closed. So how about you consider this, the Brady violation, this. No, we need something new. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and it's that problem with our justice system barrels toward finality, which is a great thing when somebody is actually guilty of a crime, but when there are serious doubts about their guilt, are barreling toward finality. And I get it. We need finality in our justice system so victims are not sitting wondering forever whether somebody's going to get out. But when you put a person who's potentially wrongfully convicted in that same place, creates these really large barriers for them to find justice. I was wondering, do you think that there is we need to spend some time maybe focused on putting tripwires in the justice system that, prevent people from appealing endlessly until the end of time, but also tripwires that exist to help protect people who are likely to be wrongfully convicted?
I think that would be very helpful. That really would. And imagine how many people come out of the woodwork too. Because even with fighting Pablo's case, I have several people approaching me, my son this, or my daughter this, or my husband. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, because I think we've got to find the right balance, right? Because as sad as it is, judicial resources are not unlimited. But on the other hand, it raises a question like, what price are we willing to pay in the name of efficiency to are we willing to let people who are highly likely to be innocent go in the name of efficiency? I feel like it should be a better reason. And I understand finality is more than just efficiency, but I just sort of feel like it's a very thin reason. So basically it's in the hands of the Texas Board of Pardons and Parole right now, right?
Right. That's just, and to see if he'll be approved for parole or not. But the bad part is when the previous administration left the DA's office, they sent opposing letters for everybody upcoming in 2025. And I don't understand how they could get away with doing that when that last year was their last term. Like, you can't do that. So I want the DA to correct that for this year. Like, look at each case individually. Don't just send out letters opposing it.
I couldn't lose weight. Fatigue, gas, bloating, hot flashes.
These women got life-changing symptom relief from Belvital, the comprehensive hormone health solution from Body. While everyone is unique and will have varied results, here are extraordinary experiences from independent Body affiliates and actual Belvital users.
The combination of the fitness, the food, the breathing exercises, the supplements, it's just the magic that I was missing.
My workouts have never been better.
I love the combination of the Pilates with lifting.
My body literally feels like it got younger.
This nutrition program has taught me what my body truly needs.
I'm less bloated. I have less inflammation.
Now I'm equipped with how to manage the stress.
It's helping me sleep so much better.
Within a week or two of taking these supplements, I physically felt a difference.
I have transformed my body from the inside out.
Belvital is a first-of-its-kind complete program that is helping thousands of women feel good. Learn more at belvital.com.
Ready to prioritize yourself in the new year? Your skin is a great place to start. Dime Beauty, founded by a master esthetician, is more than just a skincare company. With 4 skin-conscious categories, skincare, beauty, body care, and fragrance, Dime offers simple, spa-worthy products that will help you enter 2025 with confidence. Whether you're revitalizing your regimen with nourishing products or building one from scratch, Dime makes it easy. The Work System, our all-in-one best-selling routine, includes a cleanser of your choice, toners, serums, and moisturizers, taking the guesswork out of skincare for your healthiest, happiest skin yet. Dime's commitment to clean ingredients and sustainable packaging ensures every product is as gentle on your skin as it is on the planet. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews and a loyal community, the results speak for themselves. Revive your skin and give yourself the routine refresh you deserve by visiting dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com. Your best skin awaits.
Calling all dog owners. Your furry friend deserves top-notch nourishment, and Ollie delivers the clean, fresh nutrition your dog needs in 5 flavors they'll absolutely flip over. Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world, with absolutely no harmful fillers or preservatives. With protein-first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes, fresh turkey with blueberries, or fresh lamb with cranberries, you might start thinking, dang, my dog eats better than I do. And that's probably true when it comes to Ollie. Give your pup a fresh start this new year by letting them taste test a personalized meal plan with Ollie. Head to ollie.com/Wondery. Tell them all about your dog and use code WONDERY to get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a clean bowl guarantee on the first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/Wondery and enter code WONDERY to get 60% off your first box. Start your dog's new year off right with Ollie. Start your dog's new year off right with Ollie.
These were just blanket opposition.
So most likely, unfortunately, because they opposed his parole, it's going to be denied.
How much time has he spent?
19 years.
Okay. So it's been 19 years, and it'll be near, I'm guessing, close to 20 by the time
next April. Well,
next April. So 20 of a 30-year sentence by the time he gets there. One of the things that I kind of wonder about, like how long, in Texas, do many parolees get out by the time they've, served 60 plus percentage of their sentence?
It all from what I've discovered, it all depends on where you're incarcerated, because some parole boards in certain areas are a lot more lenient. And as of last week, I was informed that somebody who has been there 34 years was denied parole and received a 1-year set-off, in which he's coming out next year anyway. So he's like, all right, you denied me for another year. I don't even care. I'm going to go home next year anyway. So what's the point? But 34 years he's been there. And then there's others for like sexually perverted cases. They're releasing them. It seems like, like Pablo has no cases in prison. He has all these certificates, because I have people suggesting, well, tell him to take this course and tell him to do that. Okay. He's done all these courses. Has no bad cases, nothing. He's in the trustee division. Like he's one of the good guys over there doing the right thing all the time. And that's still not enough for you to grant him parole. Like, what do you want? So I like to look, I'm like such a nerd with the analytics, the numbers and all that. A lot of them that are granted parole are the repeating offenders who are going to be right back in the system again. So it's kind of like if they see you doing good and they know you're not going to come back, they're just going to keep you here until it's time for you to really go home. And he's not, one thing too, I noticed when I was first speaking to him is that, yes, he's incarcerated, but he hasn't let it affect him like that mentally. Like he doesn't boo-hoo about anything. His hours for work are grueling hours, but he'd rather be at work than just sitting there, in his bunk, like all day doing nothing. He's always just busy working.
So I was just curious about what Pablo's personality is like and what life in prison has been like for him.
None of us will ever know what it's actually like to be in prison unless we're there. But I know that he's had to adapt to the environment, but yet through everything, he's maintained still being a good guy. Like he doesn't have any cases against him or on him, and he's very helpful to others. He's always learning things. And as far as his personality, he's a handful. He can be so silly. Sometimes we're laughing so much that we're literally crying tears while we're laughing so much. It's so funny. But yeah, he likes to draw. He's really good at drawing. I sent him some of my drawings and he's like, yeah, okay, keep practicing. And I'm like, what?
What does he draw?
He can draw anything, and it's the coolest. Like he knows I love wolves. Like wolves are my babies. So and you know how I look at this? Like Jack and Sally, like Jack Skellington, like we're both broken, but we like healed each other. That's how I think of us. So he'll draw me different little, pictures and stuff, and he'll send them home and I have them saved, and he'll draw stuff for his mom as well too. And, yeah, the cool thing is now that they have tablets, so we'll do video visits and I go to his mom so that they at least get to see each other that way. I've taken her a couple of times to see him, but it's a lot on her physically and stuff. And, yeah, and she says things to me that kind of scare me, but I'm like, no, come on, everything's going to be okay. We're going to keep praying and praying.
What is it she says that kind of scares you?
She says things like, I don't know how much longer I'll be here, and I just want my son home. I need my son home. He was always, here for me. And like, that was the other thing. Like, I don't ask them questions even in the beginning, but like, she would tell me stories and he would too. Like, he knows how to cook and everything. I'm like, really? And so he would come home, to her from work, and she'd have dinner cooking or something, and they're both of them can cut up together, and it is the cutest thing when they're both laughing and having fun. And she just wants her son home. He was her protector. And
I was just thinking as I was listening to you talk about her saying she doesn't know how long she has. What a comfort it must be to her as a mom to know that there's someone there who's going to fight for her son.
Yeah, we've had our moments. She'll tell me thank you, and I'm like, you don't have to thank me. Like, your son's innocent, and I'm going to keep fighting. And that he's told me that too. He's like, you're stubborn, you're hard-headed. I said, yes, I am. I'll take that, but I'm going to keep fighting for you. He's like, why?
But just step back from a sec, like step back from it for a second and think about, like, for any mother, son in prison or not, but especially son in prison and fighting to get out. What an amazing thing it must be to know that there's another human being who is not in your family, who's competent, and who is going to fight for your child. Like, that has got to be an unbelievable comfort because, you think about parenting, like, all we really want, and I think my parents felt this way too, all we really want is for our kids to be okay, right? And it is scary to think that you're going to leave this world and that there's not going to be someone there for them, fighting for them, that they can lean on.
Never looked at it that way, Jason.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah. His family, like, when you walk into the home, you just literally feel the love.
Yeah.
And the holidays are always hard, but we don't really talk about it much because he's like, it's just another day. And I'm like, yeah, I know. You're going to have a lot of time to make up with your family when you're home. And sometimes he's like, home? What is that? And I'm like, stop.
What is that? Yeah. Right. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show The Wire by David Simon, but one of the lines in there is, you only do 2 days, the day you arrive and the day you get out. Right. And some of that just has to do with the mentality. The idea there is the mentality of, like, lock in, get ready for the tedium and the boredom. The rest doesn't matter except for the day you get in, the day you get out. Right. And the thing about that phrase that's really fascinating for me is it is true if you are guilty. There are only 2 days, the day you go in and the day you go out. But if you are innocent, every day has got to be scorching. Like, how does Pablo think prison has changed him?
He does have his days, his moments where I know he's not having a good day. So I'm like, I'm going to let you go now so you can go relax and stuff. So we just end the call and stuff because, like I said, we don't know what goes on in there. And especially that unit, that's the worst unit in Texas. Like, that's what it's known to be. It's the most roughest. But yet he doesn't have this boo-hoo like attitude about him. He knows he was, has this sentence because it's, something that he was dealt with. He doesn't understand, or he's also never accepted it. Like, he's not the type to, like, okay, I'm going to do my time. He just says, I'm going to do this time and I'm going to be home. And I'm glad he looks at it that way because it's not his time. It's somebody else's time. And then when COVID first hit, he got sick so bad. And I really thought he wasn't going to make it. And I had to tell his mom that he's really sick and stuff. And, she was so worried. And we were just on pins and needles waiting because it's not like we could just call up and say, hey, can you go check out Pablo? We had to just wait and wait to hear from him. And when we heard from him, he's like, no, I'm okay. I'm just working out to get better and stuff. We're like, okay, good. But there's times where it affects his health and it's like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And it's not like out here we can just go to the doctor. Over there, it's an issue to do anything.
Right.
And it's on their time. So it's just rough.
I was going to ask you, what do you think the next steps are in his case, and what do you hope for? What can those of us who are out here in the universe who aren't, Pablo's family or his loved ones, is there anything that we can do?
Help me to get in touch with the district attorney to hopefully get his ear on this, because
Well, I'm a former reporter, and pretty much my list of people who have gotten away when I wanted to get them is 0.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that is good. Like, I've tried so much and I don't give up. And even there's times that I'll show up at places when I know certain people are going to be there. So everything that I do does have intention, I'm like, God, I know what you're doing here. But I'm just about giving back and helping all, but yet people already know, and they'll ask me, how's Pablo doing? And it's like, how do you think he's doing? I don't want to be rude, but it's like, well, he's still alive. And they're like, Lisa, how could you say that? And I'm like, no, that's a good thing. Like, he's still alive today. We heard from him, but we just don't know. And I don't want him to be in there and, God forbid anything happen to him or his mom. And then he's missing out time with his nieces. And it's just like, life does go on, but not for him. And there's times like if I'm eating something, he'll call me randomly. I don't know how this man always knows what I'm eating, but like I'm eating something and I don't like to say what I'm eating. I'm just having a little snack because I feel bad, even though he says, oh, it doesn't bother me. But like, I can't be that way. I'm just not like that.
Is there guilt
of me? Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel guilt for not being furry?
I feel guilt for like if I'm eating something like fajitas and then he's over there having to eat what they serve them in there. It's like, I don't want to say anything,
So you feel guilt for being able to live your life?
Uh-huh. Even his mom does the same thing. She says, I can't, because they call him Junior. I can't tell Junior this because I just feel bad. I'm like, I know, I feel the same way. But one thing we have done before was like movie night, and it's going to sound crazy, but like he can watch a movie on his tablet and I'll watch it on my laptop at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Even when you can you guys chat while you're doing it?
Yes.
Oh, that is so cool.
So we're both laughing and laughing, or there's times I'm laughing and he's like, that wasn't funny. And I'm like, but it was. But I've told him, hey, look up this movie. Why? I said, because that's one of my movies. And he's like, oh God. And he just laughs. But, yeah.
Like the movies that you've been in? That's wild.
Yes. Yeah. But he sees my Uncle Danny a lot because since my Uncle Danny was in prison before, a lot of the stuff says, like it says, a message from Danny Trejo and blah, blah, blah. And it'll show his little announcement and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
It's like announcements that your uncle recorded, or?
Yes, something to do with the prison systems because they use Securus. So
which is like the text and communication system.
So it's stuff like that.
So like his voice is on there?
Uh-huh. And he's like, there goes your uncle again. And I'm like, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
My family's watching you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's funny.
So what do you, from your perspective, what do you hope for the criminal justice system for people who are in situations that are similar to Pablo's? What can we do?
Believe me, I wish. Even the governor said, when are you going to run for office? You do well here. I said, oh, no, sir. I'm not a yes person. We'd be having issues. I would like to fix it. And Pablo's like, you always want to save the world. And I'm like, I can't help it. I mean, I'm also a Libra as well. But like, I
Oh,
wish
I'm behind on my zodiac. So, what are Libras like?
the scales.
Scales of justice.
Yeah, scales. So,
I'm an Aries, so I'm just busy knocking things over.
oh, cool. Pablo's a
But
Leo.
so you were saying that
I
you
wish,
couldn't.
yeah, like I wish, like even just the open ears and open heart of communication, so that we can hear, they can hear from us, and we can hear from them as to how we can come together to come up with a solution, because it's not fair to just treat people like this. Like, they're not just inmates or numbers. They have names. They're people. And so that would be it. Like, there's so many things that just need to be corrected. And he makes fun of me for this. He laughs at me. But even as far as the food, and even the food out here, like, there's a lot of food that goes to waste. Why can't we give it to the people? Why can't we do this? Why can't we? And Pablo's like, man, Lisa, I don't know what God did with you. Because there's something. Yeah. And I was like, I can't help it. I think of so many different things.
You got the fire, apparently.
And I want more for everyone. I just want to fix it. But yes, and I'm open to any suggestions as well. If anybody says, hey, Lisa, reach out to this person, I'm on it. I'll do it.
You know, it's kind of like parenting too. Like, there's a sad moment where you realize, like, you can't kiss it and make everything better. But do you know what you can do? Just like a parent, you can just keep on trying and keep on trying and keep on trying. Let me give you a chance to share any closing thoughts you have. I thought about so much here in your story, and one of the things that just struck me throughout was that in many ways, like, your own suffering, the abuse you experienced as a child, the suffering that you were going through in your own marriage set you on a collision course with Pablo. I mean, like, I mean, it's hard to not say that it saved your life. When you listen to the story that you tell about hearing your phone being at that moment where you didn't want to live anymore, and then looking on Facebook, and that's how you found his story. And his own suffering, the conviction, the time in jail, led him to his knees, and then right after that, he connected in you. And one of the things that just sticks out about the story is it sounds like you and Pablo have both tried so hard and together to take your suffering and bring good out of it for each other and for other people. And so I wanted to just say that to you before I gave you a chance to just share anything else you want to share.
You make my eyes water. Thank you for everything, like, for even caring enough to hear what's going on, for this opportunity, because like I said, it really feels like we've had a lot of doors just closed on us, and unanswered emails, unanswered phone calls, and just hearing us out, hearing his story, creating this awareness, like broadening it is huge for us, because there's times that we feel like he says, he feels like he was thrown to the wolves, and I'm like, hey, I play with wolves, so we kind of laugh about stuff, but we also have our moments where we just sit in silence on the phone, we just, after praying, it's like, what are we missing here? What is it that we need to do? I don't understand. And so, like, everyone who's prayed and reached out for us, thank you. We're just going to keep on fighting, even though he tells me, like, Lisa, that's enough, just stop. And I'm like, no, like, I just can't. It's not right. I'm trying to fix, what they did to you. And nobody deserves to go through anything like this. And I know he's not the only one. There's men, women, and even children who get thrown into the system at such a young age. And I just try to help as many as I can.
Well,
and that's what makes me smile.
Well, the one thing I can say, Lisa, if I've learned anything in this conversation, is that once Pablo's out, you've got a long list to work on. Even if you don't have it in your head right now, you will figure it out. And I'm glad we have advocates like you who are out there. And I'm glad you were willing to be so unbelievably vulnerable about this entire story, because I think that it's hard if you've never walked in a prison, if you've never been on the other side or in the visiting room. It's really hard to not, and I don't think this is because people are bad, but it's really hard not to dehumanize people. They become objects, they become prisoners. And their advocates are often like cookie cutter advocates, and they just talk about what's right and what's wrong. But like, I appreciate the fact that you shared your heart and you shared his humanity. And I just think, like, hopefully someday his kids will get a chance to listen and hear his story, and he'll get a chance to listen and hear how deep and real your love is, and hear how deep and real that connection is. So again, thank you.
Thank you too.
You're welcome. If you'd like to join us for more discussions with me and other listeners, we can be found on most social media platforms, including a listener-run Facebook group called the Silver Linings Fireside Chat. If you're interested in true crime, you can check out our new publication, The True Crime Times, on Substack. For deeper conversations with our guests and live conversations with other listeners, and to support the podcast, you can also join us on our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Silver Linings Handbook.